This is Let Us Interrupt You, episode 88, here on Tuesday, October 18th, 2022. It's just the one and only Joseph Olivo. As usual, that is the per usual thing that happens here on Tuesdays. It's just me. Mike is planning on being here this Saturday coming up. The only thing that's really to talk about today right now is basically NFL recapping. Recap some of the games for you right now quickly. I'll give you the quick scores and highlights. I'm not going to go through every single play right now, but I'll give you what the cliff notes here in most of these games. I'll start off with the Ravens and the Giants. Giants pulling out the win, as I predicted. It'd be a 20-20 win. This is exactly what it was. I don't know if I predicted that being the score, but the Giants did get the W. They're now 5-1. The Ravens are now 3-3. And now in a tie for first with the Cincinnati Bengals for the AFC North Division. Jackson in the game was 17 for 32, 210 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Was sacked twice in the game. Giants got their first interception in the season defense. Daniel Jones had 19 for 27, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Was sacked 4 times. Barkley had 83 yards on 22 carries for 1 touchdown. Kenyon Drake had 10 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown. Mark Andrews was 7 catches, 106 yards for the Ravens for a touchdown. For the Giants receiving core, it was Bellinger for 5 catches for 38 yards for a touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson had 3 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown in the game. All the way around, I mean, there's really not much else to say about the Giants, really, except the fact right now is that they've been dominant this year. They're actually undefeated on the road this year, too. Another key note to keep intact here. The Giants are now 5-1 on top of I should say, in second place right now of the NFC East because the Eagles remain undefeated as they beat the Dallas Cowboys 26-17. All you really need to know about that particular game is the Eagles forced 3 interceptions in Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is no longer undefeated. He was going in there 5-0, becoming the first undrafted quarterback in NFL history to go 6-0 in his first 6 starts. Unfortunately, that was not the case. And Dak Prescott will be back this weekend for the Cowboys as they take on the Detroit Lions. Back to the AFC North for a minute. Bengals beat the Saints 30-26. Joe Burrow had a great day in this game, even though they started out really slow and was struggling at first for a little bit, but just woke up in the second half, mainly in the fourth quarter. Game-winning touchdown throw to Jamar Chase for about 60 yards. I believe that was the end of that game. He was 28 for 37, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dalton was 17 for 32, or 162 yards, a touchdown, no pick. Hill was 2 for 4 in this game for 16 yards throwing. He was 5 carries for 39 yards as a running back for the Saints. Kamara didn't do much in this game, 19 carries for 99 yards, no touchdowns for him. Rashid Shaheed had 1 rushing yard for about 44 yards. As far as team thing goes, is Chase got 132 yards on 7 catches for 2 touchdowns. Boyd had 6 catches for 66 yards, and T had 6 catches for 47 yards. The Bengals are now 3-3. The Saints have now dropped to 2-4. They play the Arizona Cardinals this Thursday night, which I will tell you right now, I am picking the Saints to win this game in Arizona. I do not trust the Cardinals at all on a short week. They're getting DeAndre Hopkins back, granted, but that Saints defense is still dangerous. I think Marshawn Lattimore is going to give D-Hop a hard time on his return game, and that's why I'm taking the Saints in that particular game there. Jets beat the Packers. All I really know about this game is that Randall Cobb got a high ankle. I think it was a high ankle sprain. I think not really a high ankle sprain, but an ankle sprain. They're saying he's going to miss multiple weeks. It's a severe sprain. I think they're saying it's a high ankle sprain, but there's some that say they are. It's not. Jets get the window 27-10. This was a complete dominating factor in this game from the word go. Breece Hall at one point had a 32-yard rushing touchdown to basically put this game away. He had 20 carries for 116 yards, a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers had 246 yards, 26 for 41, 1 touchdown, no picks. The Jets at one point had a block punt return for a touchdown for 20 yards out. They even blocked a Packers field goal attempt. So you could tell the special teams were terrible in this game. It was not a good day for the Packers overall at home against the Jets. The Jets who are now 3-0 on the road. Think about that for a minute. They're 3-0 on the road. And the Packers are 2-2 at home. So it's been a weird season for the Packers. I will say this right now about the Packers this year is I think their season is over. As much as people want to look at it and say the Green Bay Packers season isn't over, it's not finished yet, it is. I mean, they got to face the Commanders this upcoming weekend. You have a wide receiver now who's out for multiple weeks. Unless you get Marquise Brown in a trade, or actually, I should say now that you're not going to get him because he's also going to miss multiple weeks. I'll get on that in a little bit with the Cardinals and Seahawks game. But this particular game was not good for the Packers overall. Their offense was flat coming out of the gate in this game. Rodgers was 4 for 12 on passes that were more than 20 yards down the field. This was not a good day for Aaron Rodgers at all. And I don't know if people have figured him out at this point, or maybe it's just the fact right now that the team just isn't that good overall anymore now. They're a fraudulent team. I don't know. I mean, to be 3-3 at this point, and really to now have to worry about the Vikings later on in the season, because by the way, they're 5-1. So, I mean, this Packer team is not a playoff team at all. Their defense is good, but their offense is just not going to cut it. Although the defense did get exposed against Breece Hall in this game, granted. But, I mean, it just all the way around was not a good game all the way around. The only touchdown pass that Rodgers threw in this game was 25 yards to Allen Lazard. That was late in the third quarter. But Breece Hall had a 34-yard run. Zerline had a 23-yard field goal. Braxton Berrios at one point had a 20-yard run as well. And the rush game is the issue for Green Bay defensively. So that's all you need to know there. A.J. Dillon was the leading rusher there with 10 carries for 41 yards. Robert Tonyan had 10 catches for 90 yards in this game. Otherwise, the Packers overall just did not show up in this game at home, which was very embarrassing to lose to the Jets of all teams. Because I think that I don't think they're for real. I got to be honest. The Jets are 4-2 right now. I just don't think they're for real. I'm sorry. I don't think the Jets are for real. Even though they're with the record they have right now, until they face the Bills, until they face the Dolphins, and I'm even going to put the Patriots in this conversation because they've been good as well. I just think realistically, the Dolphins have had some injury issues. The Patriots started out, in some controversy with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. I mean, I'm not ready to say the Jets right now are better than those teams. I'm just not ready to say it. So that's that. Jaguars Colts, that was an interesting game. It ended up being Matt Ryan throwing a game-winning touchdown pass to Alec Pierce for about 35 yards out, I believe it was, making it 30 for 27. Overall, Matt Ryan threw the ball 58 times, completed 42 passes. He had 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, was not sacked in this game, did not fumble the ball. This was the best Matt Ryan game all year for anybody. The best game all year for the Colts, the best game all year really in general for how he played in this game. It was like I think this guy is motivated by having some quarterback controversy competition, having a guy get in his head saying, hey, Sam Allen's your backup. And, it's working because it's motivating this guy to play better. So I think that's the motivation part of it, the whole thing, saying how people are saying that he's all done, he's all washed up, he should retire. And, he doesn't really have that much time left. And this guy comes out and throws the ball 58 times and nearly throws for 400 yards. Now, granted, I get the Jacksonville Jaguars and their defense kind of blows. But, I mean, it's worth noting that the Colts, you can never count them out. You can never count them out. That's how I look at it. Trevor Lawrence in this game was, 20 for 22. That was great, but he only had 165 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Was sacked 4 times in the game. Overall, in the end, Trevor Lawrence just failed miserably. He failed miserably to get another game-winning drive. Everybody thought he had a game-winning drive with about a minute and a half to go, 2 minutes to go in the game. In reality, it failed miserably. They tried to go for 2 instead of going for the extra point, which I think realistically would have actually, or even, I get going for 2 right now because you don't want to give them the field goal here. But realistically, either way you look at it, they were going for the win regardless after that. And really, I'll give you the other highlights. Patriots, Browns. Patriots won 38-15 over the Browns. The Steelers beat the Bucs in an upset win 20-18. Pickett left with a concussion. He did pass the protocol. We're not sure yet whether or not he will be cleared. Bills beat the Chiefs 24-20. This was a game right here that came down to Josh Allen throwing a game-winning drive to Dawson Knox in the end. I'll give you the stats right now for the rest of these games right now going forward. But first, I'll give you the other scores here quickly. I'm going quickly here because I was trying to read the scroll line, but apparently my computers all. Vikings beat the Dolphins 24-16. Falcons beat the 49ers 28-14. Rams beat the Panthers 24-10. Seahawks beat the Cardinals 19-9. I already get the Sunday night score with the Eagles and the Cowboys. That was 26-17. And last night in overtime with a muffed punt, Russell Wilson and the Broncos lost and dropped to 2-4 as the Chargers win in overtime 19-16. Despite the efforts for Justin Herbert, who, by the way, threw the ball 57 times last night, recorded no touchdowns. That is the most, I would say, ever in a game. Has anyone ever attempted to have 57 throws in the game and not come up with one touchdown in the game? He had one interception, just not a touchdown overall in the game. Russell Wilson did throw a touchdown in the game, threw one to Greg Dulcich for 39 yards. It was under 200 yards in the game. Herbert went 238 yards in the game. Defensive struggle as far as what this game started out. I really thought it was going to start with a runaway here with Denver because they had me nervous at first. But Denver now drops at 0-3 on the road. Eckler at one point had 14 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown in the game. He got the rushing touchdown. I believe that was in this midway in the second quarter. Hopkins got the field goal. He was playing hurt in the game, by the way. He injured his leg, but it seems to be okay now going forward. It was just basically a field goal battle. Hopkins really won the field goal battle in the end here. It was at the battle of the kickers here, and Hopkins got the clutch win again for the Chargers at home. They're now 2-1 at home this season, so it's a good thing. Otherwise, back to the other games. There's not much else to say about it, really. Skylar Thompson got hurt with a thumb injury. The third quarterback that got injured once again for the Dolphins. Teddy Bridgewater came in, two touchdowns, 2 picks, 329 yards. I think it was on 27 for 36 throwing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if not more than that in the game. Not much else to say about this game, really. It just really, what it really came down to it was the Dolphins in the end trailed by too much. The Vikings were too much all in all. Once they had the lead, they weren't going to relinquish it. And that's all there is to it. I mean, there's really no other way of looking at it right now going forward with this game. Kirk Cousins had a crappy game, was sacked 3 times. And, all in all, I'm just going to get a text message right now from my mom. Apparently she's going over to see our friend Cindy for her birthday. So good for her. Anyway, and this is apparently the oil company. This is before I continue on this Vikings Dolphins game, I got to rant about this for a minute. So apparently people think that I drive around in my mom's 2018 Volkswagen Passat. This is according to Volkswagen, but this is my rant about this whole thing. I got to get this out of the way. They remind me that my mom's got an appointment at 4:00. For whatever reason, the phone number that's associated with that car is my number. They don't text her, even though it's her car, it's under her name. And I'm not technically I am insured on it, but it is her car. It is under her name. She is paying for the insurance on the car. She is actually making car payments as we speak on the car. They always seem to text me. And I've told them hundreds of times, I've even called these people to get my name off the number list. They don't do their job. So keep that in mind, really, at this point now going forward, that these people right now do not listen and they don't care. And by the way, I was wrong about Teddy Bridgewater's completion and attempts. He was 23 for 34. I want to make him sound good here. But this is the Dolphins now, 3rd straight loss, and they're going 3-0. Just FYI. The Falcons game I want to get into, because the Rams-Panthers, look, all you need to know about the Rams-Panthers game was that, before I get to that one, and even with the Seattle game, this was the battle of Seattle kicking field goals and getting touchdowns in that one. That was it. They got one late touchdown in the end. It really didn't seem to matter at that point in time. Anyway, so I'm getting a little distracted. Plus, this computer is really starting to freeze up right now for whatever reason. So I'm going to try to get the rest of the scores on here. We also have the ALDS on right now with the Guardians and Yankees. That's scores right now. They were rained out last night. I don't know if I already brought this up or not, but the Padres beat the Dodgers. They're in the NLCS. They play game 1 tonight against the Phillies. The Phillies, by the way, who won. The Astros swept the Seattle Mariners on Saturday. That was a 1-0 after 18 innings. give you some baseball scores real quickly, because I don't think I got a chance to talk about this on Saturday. In fact, I don't think I did. It's a lot of things I didn't get a chance to talk about on Saturday. But yeah. But back to the NFL stuff. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here, but I'm just getting my phone, because this is plan B here, because apparently this computer just wants to freeze over right now. I don't know how this computer's still going with this. And I'm not having any connection issues with the live stream here. So I can see myself right now talking to the screen. But right now it's weird. I don't know why my computer is doing this, but it is what it is. But back to Falcons and 49ers on this one. Merritt accounting for 3 touchdowns in the game. He threw for 2 touchdown passes to McCoy Pruitt and Kyle Pitts late in the game in the third. He had a 3-yard run at one point midway in the third, and the 2 touchdown passes from Garoppolo went to Ayuk. He did throw for 2 picks in the game. Garoppolo was 29 for 41, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Marcus Mariota was 13 for 14, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They basically Marcus Mariota is basically a game managing quarterback. As many people want to look at it and say, he's kind of good. No, he's a game managing quarterback, because right now those numbers right there show you what a game management quarterback looks like. Garoppolo in this game, in Kyle Shanahan in the play calling here, just don't mesh up. They don't. It's pretty obvious. The 49ers are 3-3. The Rams are 3-3. That's it. I mean, in the Rams game, really, you got Robbie Anderson, who got kicked out of the game, got traded to Arizona after the game. It's just that Panther team's a mess. They're 1-6 now. The Rams are 3-3. But really, this is a battle for the NFC West, because there are 3 teams right now who are 3-3. It's Seattle, who got the 19-9 win over the Cardinals. They really, on the account for the field goals right now, the only touchdown really that mattered here was Kenneth Walker, the third, 11 yards in, too easy. Geno Smith had an okay day, 20 for 31, 197 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Kyle Murray was 23 for 37, 222 yards and a pick. He also had 10 carries for 100 yards in this game, but it didn't matter because the Cardinals stink. And they lost Hollywood Brown. People were saying he might be out for the year. He's been getting a second opinion, might miss only 6 or 7 weeks. I think it doesn't matter. This Cardinal team, even with D-Hop coming back and having Marquise Brown in the team, they stink. Their offense is not that great. Kyler Murray is not worth the 5-year, $230 million that he's worth. And Cliff Kingsbury is willing to give up the play calling here. Whatever. In my opinion, I think it was a waste of time anyway. The guy was never a good play call to begin with. So it really doesn't matter. It just really doesn't. But back to the other games. Buffalo, Kansas City. Not game of the year material, but, it was a good, entertaining 425 game yesterday. It really started out with Juju Smith's 42-yard touchdown pass, made it 7-3. Gabe Davis late in the second quarter getting a 35-yard touchdown reception from Josh Allen, making it 10-7. The Chiefs trapped John DeVille in 7 seconds to kick a field goal, make it 10-all. Diggs got the 17-yard touchdown pass later on third quarter. Harmon with a 3-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes. And Dawson Knox got the 14-yard game winner with about a minute 4 to go. And last chance, Mahomes trying to throw to Sky Moore and intercepted by Tremaine Johnson. Ball game over. Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs by the final 24-20. Allen again was 27 for 40, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Patrick Mahomes was 25 for 40 for 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Singletary had 17 carries for 85 yards for Buffalo. Clyde Edwards-Helaire only had 9 carries for 33 yards. Diggs had 10 catches for 148 yards and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster, I did not even know this, had 5 catches in the game for 113 yards and a touchdown. The most, I think, a receiver's ever gotten against the Bills this season. But it didn't matter because Mahomes in this game, despite throwing for 338 yards, lost the game at home. So that's Kansas City's, I believe, their first loss at home this season, if I believe I'm not mistaken, because I think they lost on the road to Indy early in the season. So they've now lost to the Bills and the Colts. Colts, who I think, might be a playoff team. The Bills, who are definitely a playoff team and a definite Super Bowl contender. And the Chiefs right now have calmed down a little bit. While the Buffalo Bills, I think, have cement themselves on a totally different level that I think Kansas City's on right now. Kansas City right now might be on the same level as they were on last year, but Buffalo somehow has just upped a few notches. I mean, they have just figured out a way to become unstoppable. Their defense is tremendous. They play great defense. You look at Von Miller over the weekend, and just his presence alone just changes that defense around. He had 2 sacks in the game, 2 tackles for a loss. Tremaine Edmonds had 10 tackles in total. He had 5 solo tackles. Hamlin had 7 tackles overall. Pryor had 4 tackles, and he played with messed up ribs. Didn't even fly. He drove 15 hours just to go to this game and play in the game. That takes heart right there for someone like Jordan Pryor. I mean, Poyer. I really wish we had more guys like that in the NFL. We don't really hear a lot of stories like that very often. Matt Milano, I think, has been getting better. He had 3 tackles in the game. He had 1 tackle for a loss. He had 2 quarterback hits in the game. Von Miller had 2 quarterback hits in the game. Lawson had a quarterback hit. Jones had a quarterback hit. Ed Oliver had 2 quarterback hits in the game. Basham had a quarterback hit in the game. This was a great defense in the end. Elam had an interception. He had a one-armed interception. It was intended for Marquez Valdes-Scantling there. That's when I thought things got interesting, because that interception right there where Kansas City drove the length of the field after Josh Allen's fumble there, although it was on Isaiah McKenzie, because in reality, McKenzie should have kept his eye on the ball, knowing that he was going to be able to get it. And then the worst part of it was that his body, him falling down, pushed the ball's momentum towards Kansas City. And Elam had a pretty dominant game in of itself right now. And you look at the game in general, Juju Smith was the leading guy in the game. He had 5 catches for 113 yards. Kelsey had 8 catches for 108 yards. I think Buffalo got exposed a little bit in this game, but not by a lot, to a point where these numbers were not that noticeable, really. It was really, when it really came down to it, it was the first game this year that Juju Smith was actually relevant on this Kansas City Chiefs team, and Kelsey was relevant on this Kansas City Chiefs team, yet it made no difference. So Bills get the win here. They're definitely going to be hosting the AFC title game this year at home, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kansas City, Buffalo one more time in Buffalo. Just would not surprise me. Just getting some news feed now that Russell Wilson, I should say, I almost said Russell Westbrook. Russell Wilson is pushing to play through a hamstring injury. Broncos will evaluate his progress this week. He is considered day to day. This guy's always got issues. First it's a torn labrum. Now it's a hamstring. This guy should just hang it up. People want to say Tom Brady hanging up. Russell Wilson is playing through 2 different injuries. One that could slow your foot your feet momentum when you move around. Your constant strength is important right now when it comes to running the ball, because you're considered a running quarterback. And the other thing is, and this is what amazes me here, is the fact that this is playing out the way you wanted to play out. I mean, to have a torn labrum, and I guess supposedly it happened before week 1 of that Seattle matchup, which people are going to say that's an excuse now at this point. And it's reality. The guy played through a torn labrum, and he's playing through a bad hamstring, a bad wheel. So not a good thing to hear. But back to the other games. This one in particular, Steelers-Buccaneers. All you got to know about this particular game was Tom Brady sucked. That's it. That's all you need to know. Tom Brady was terrible in this game. They lost 20-18. Trubisky coming off the bench after Pickett got concussed. This is after a personal foul call against Pickett. They were already in the red zone at this point. They had a 6-yard passing play from Pickett to Najee Harris for a touchdown. His first touchdown in Pittsburgh, I believe, this season. So think about that for a minute. Passing touchdown. He's already had 2 rushing touchdowns at Acrisure Stadium. Succop had 2 field goals in the game. Actually, had 3 field goals in the game. 1 from 54, 1 from 27, and 1 from 30. He had another one that was from 24 yards out. Brady threw the only touchdown pass he threw in the game was Leonard Fournette for 11 yards, failed in a 2-point conversion. At that point, the game was already over. Okay. This Buccaneer defense could not stop Mitchell Trubisky, of all people, and Pickett. So I'm just putting it out there for you. Pittsburgh got the upset win. They're now officially 1-11 without TJ Watt. And the defense played great in this game for Pittsburgh. That's it. They got to Tom Brady as much as they wanted to in this game. The offensive line was wretched in this game. 2 sacks, 14 yards lost for Brady. Godwin over had 6 catches for 95 yards. He also had 6 drops in the game. I mean, if you notice how many drops he had in this game, and there were a lot of them in this game, he had at least 5 or 6 drops in the game. Mike Evans had 4 catches for 42 yards. I'm surprised he was not targeted more in this game. I really was surprised by this. And there was points in the game where Mike Evans just gave up, but with him giving up, it actually made him more open. And I don't know what people realize is when Mike Evans has an off day, you notice when he gives up on the play and he just finds a way to get open somehow, even though he's giving up on the play, is not his head's not in it. He gets open. Just a little caveat here, because Godwin got targeted 12 times. He had 6 drop. By the way, the other targets that he would have had in the game, if Godwin would have had 6 more catches, he would have had 12 catches with 12 targets. He would have been perfect in the game. But, wasn't meant to be. Leonard Fournette was 6 catches for 38 yards with a touchdown. He also had 21 carries for 63 yards. He only averaged 3 yards per game. Brady had a fumble in the game, but, that's not really news. Godwin was able to recover it, though, luckily. That was on one of the key sacks in the game. Levante David had 13 tackles overall. White had 8 tackles, even though he had 3 solo ones. And Jamal Dean had 6 tackles in the game. Antoine Winfield Jr. Came out and had an interesting one. 5 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss, and 1 quarterback hit in the game. He was the only guy that showed up defensively, I'm being honest right now, that actually played his heart out. Like, you look at Levante David and Devin White and the rest of them, they just went through the motions. Keanu Neal was also one that showed up in this game. I think Carlton Davis III played great in this game. I think he was one of the better defensive players, one of the better defensive plays he's had all year. I'm not saying he's better than Sean Murphy Bunting, but I'm saying this is probably one of his better games he's had all year up to this point anyway, as a Buck. But the rest of this game was just wretched. The Steelers defense overall got to Tom Brady. Never let him relax. This guy must have gotten hit in this game like 5 times. This offensive line for Tampa Bay is a joke. They're an absolute joke. There's no other way of putting it. Without Ryan Jensen, that offensive line is basically irrelevant. They are a completely useless offensive line, and they're going to have a hard time the rest of the way going forward. I think they will. They have an easy game next week against Carolina, but they can somehow blow that game. They're home against the Ravens. They can somehow blow that game. The week after that, they played at the Rams. I don't even trust them beating the Rams right now. And I think the Rams are just as bad on the offensive side of the ball as the Bucs are right now. So I look at that and I go, I don't know about that. I don't know about the Buccaneers making the playoffs this year. As a matter of fact, right now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Buccaneers right now kept losing games, kept dropping games. To me, that just wouldn't surprise me. They weren't ready for Kansas City. They certainly weren't ready for almost losing to the Falcons, who, by the way, I will give the Falcons the credit where credit is due here. They've improved a lot these last couple of weeks. And I got to be honest about the Falcons right now at this point. With all the losses they've had this year, which, by the way, they've had some pretty crappy losses, and losses they should never even had in the first place. They should have beaten the Rams when they were down 28-3, and they made it 31-27. They should have won that game. The game against the Buccaneers, where Tom Brady got the luckiest call of all time. And I say the referees were gambling on this game, so that's why they gave Brady that call. You think about all the calls that Tom Brady gets. It's not like a Tom Brady charade and everyone favors Tom Brady. That's why he's the face of the league. Because these referees bet on the games. I'm telling you, I am convinced by this. And people want to look at me and say, oh, the NFL stage. No, it's the NFL gambling thing is stage, where the players can be suspended for the entire year for it, but the NFL officials just get away with it every week and not get fined for it. I think it's absolutely atrocious. But then again, who knows? I could be wrong. But I think the referees bet on games sometimes for faces of franchise quarterbacks. That's all I'm saying. Not saying Brady got the bet every time, but this personal foul call here, that particular game right there where the Falcons should have won that game, even though they were down 21-0, they almost came back and won. And then you think of the other game. I'm trying to think of the other game against the Saints, where they should have made that field goal and was blocked. Luckily, the Saints blocked the field goal. Right now, if you take all those things into consideration, all those losses I just named, the Falcons would be 6-0 right now. They'd be a 6-0 team right now, on the cusp right now of winning the NFC South by default. Because you look at the rest of the NFC South, it's terrible. The Saints might have a bright spot in the whole thing. They might get back into it, but I'm not going to take them for real here. And the only reason why I'm picking the Saints, honestly, this week against the Cardinals is because the Saints are kind of better than the Cardinals. Let's be real here for a minute. They're better than the Arizona Cardinals. There's no other way of putting it. But yeah, that is I think that's all the games I recapped here pretty much. I think I recapped, except for the Patriots-Browns. I'll give you this one right now. Zappy was 23 for 38 in the game, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Played a good game. Despite the scoring here, let's think about this for a minute. If it wasn't really for Jacoby Brissett choking it up and having 2 interceptions in the game and having coughing up the ball and going for it on downs and basically making stupid decision after stupid decision right now instead of using your kicker half the time, this game would have been a lot closer. Tyquan Thornton had a 19-yard rushing touchdown. He also caught a 2-yard pass from Zappe. Hunter Henry got a 31-yard touchdown reception from Zappe. Stevenson had a 6-yard run. He had 19 carries for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. They shut down Chubb's running game, 12 carries for 56 yards. Brissett threw the ball over 45 times, only completed 21 passes. This was his worst game this year by default. Mari Cooper had a ridiculous touchdown reception from that Miles Bryant covered really well, but Cooper just had an amazing grab. But yeah, that was that. Patriots get the win 38-15. This blowout, honestly, this game should have been 28-15 by default, but just the way the Patriots were just letting it on, the Browns just gave up in the end. It felt right. It felt right for a legit loss by its more superior team. That's all it was. That's all there is to it. So that's that. I'm going to give you the recap quickly of the college football games that were on over the weekend that we did not recap, which I'll start with Alabama and Tennessee. That is game of the year, in my opinion, for college football this year. I did give TCU, Kansas the benefit of the doubt, but they might get co-games of the years as well. I think both games will get that in consideration. I think that was an amazing game, an absolutely incredible spectacle of a game. This really came down to the wire between these two teams in the end. Matt Ridgett for Alabama missed a 43-yard field goal. The Tennessee kicker made one. Chase McBride, who his name is right now, he kicked the field goal, was good. They won 52-49, got the upset win over Alabama, as predicted, as I picked Tennessee to win that game. Henderson Hooker had thrown for 385 yards, 5 touchdowns and a pick. Bryce Young had went for 35 for 52, 455 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs had 24 carries for 103 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. This guy might be getting an Heisman Award this year. Latu got 6 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. Hyatt, listen to this stat. This has surpassed all the Tennessee records. The catches is not it, but the receiving yards is 207 yards, shattered that record, and 5 receiving touchdowns. Absolutely incredible. And they were shorthanded, Tennessee, and they still won this game. So I really can't believe it. I really can't believe it. I got to be honest. Anyway, I'll give you the rest of the scores. Syracuse upset North Carolina State. Syracuse 18th ranked beat 15th ranked North Carolina State 24-9. James Madison 25th ranked lost to Jordan Southern 45-38. 22 ranked Kentucky beating 16 ranked Mississippi State 27-17. 20th ranked Utah beat 7th ranked USC 43-42. Double overtime, 13th ranked TCU upsetting number 8 ranked Oklahoma State 43-40. I think that was really pretty much it for the late games where they were ranked opponents. I don't know if there were any other late upsets here that I could think of right now that was worth talking about at this point. But going back right now to the actually there is one right now. West Virginia beat Baylor 43-40. That was an upset. Central Florida beat Temple 70-13. By the way, these games were on Thursday. For the Saturday edition, you have Stanford beating Notre Dame at home. Stanford going in at 1-4, getting the 16-14 win. I believe that's really pretty much it for as far as upsets go. Colorado beat California in overtime 20-13. Ball State beat UConn 25-21. Arkansas beat BYU 52-35. Maryland beat Indiana 38-33. Michigan State beat Wisconsin double overtime 34-28. Washington beat Arizona 49-39. There were a lot of other college games that were going on right now that we don't have to recap necessarily. Purdue beat Nebraska 43-37. I would go through every FBS team in here, except I won't here. But I will go through URI because I believe they played this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. They did play this past weekend against Elon. They got a 17-10 win over Elon. URI plays Monmouth. I forgot who the team was named. They play at Monmouth, I believe. If I'm saying that name right, last state right, I don't think I am. Who cares? But anyway, that is your college football recap there. Made that as quick and painless as possible. I'll give you a hockey one real quickly for the games that were on Saturday. Bruins got the win over the Coyotes 6-3 on Saturday. The Penguins beat the Lightning on Saturday 6-2. Maple Leafs beat the Senators 3-2. Honors beat the Ducks 7-1. Stars beat the Predators 5-1. Flames beat the Oilers 4-3. Golden Knights beat the Seattle Kraken 5-2. Florida Panthers beat the Sabres 4-3. Flyers beat the Canucks 3-2. Red Wings beat the Devils 5-2. Capitals beat the Canadiens 3-1. LA Kings beat the Minnesota Wild 7-6, and the St. Louis Blues beat the Blue Jackets 5-2. Blackhawks beat the Sharks and San Jose 5-2. That was on Saturday. Monday, which was last night, the Bruins beat the Florida Panthers 5-3. Canadiens beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2 in overtime. Phoenix Coyotes beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-2. Colorado Avalanche beat the Minnesota Wild 6-3. Dallas Stars beat the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. LA Kings going to Detroit and beat the Red Wings in overtime 5-4. New York Rangers at home against the Anaheim Ducks 6-4. Vancouver Canucks losing, in Washington 6-4. Hurricanes beat the Kraken 5-1. Tuesday night, later on tonight, will be the Bruins Senators, Sharks Islanders, Golden Knights Flames, Sabres Oilers, Canucks Blue Jackets, Ducks Devils, Flyers Lightning, and LA Kings and Predators. I will have all those games. I'll try to post them on the scoreboard for the Instagram through Facebook story later on in the week. I'll do it for Tuesday. I'll do it for tonight, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's games. So I will screenshot it and I will be able to put it on my stories for anybody to view if you are interested in those games. That is the hockey highlight. And for right now, for baseball, we're getting an update right now. The Yankees are beating the Guardians right now 3-0, 1 out in the bottom of the first still. Stanton had a 3-run shot to make the game 3-0. They allowed Torres and Rizzo and Stanton himself to score, of course. Torres got the walk. Judge got grounded out. And I think Rizzo had a hit. I don't know. Did Rizzo get a hit in the game or did he get walked? I think Rizzo got walked in the game or was hit by a pitch. Excuse me. He was hit by a pitch. So there you go. That's your update so far with those games and everything else you needed to know. And we'll get to the interesting stuff right now on the podcast. I got a few stories to tell you. Then I'll basically be on my way out of here to go to the gym and go pump some iron. I have not been to the gym in 4 weeks. It's been a hectic 4 weeks for me, but I've not gone to the gym in 4 weeks right now. But I will give you the story on what's going on in sports right this here. But first, last night, I just want to go back to the Denver Broncos Chargers game. This is actually an interesting one. Since 2000, there's not been a penalty record yards ever broken here. But since this happened for the first time since 2000, Denver's 151 penalty yards is the most for a team on Monday night since 2000 when this stat was first tracked. This was according to The Athletic, written last night by True Media Sports. Not good. Not good to say the least right now at this point. Unfortunately, we got some bad news here. This is moving on from that story to another story. Antonio Dennard shot and killed outside of a Pennsylvania bar, former New York Giant, Jacksonville Jaguar, and I believe he's an Arizona Cardinal as well, if I'm not mistaken, was found shot and killed outside of a bar, 32 years old. Very sad to hear that he had passed away. Condolences go out to the friends and family and colleagues for Antonio Dennard. Very sad to hear that he had to pass away. And it's really sad to hear someone like that, 32 years old, still young, in his prime, could do a lot in sports. I think he, at the time, I don't know if he was retired from football in that stage. I think he was still a free agent or he was playing football outside of the NFL. But very sad to hear that he had to pass away like that. And it's a shame that we have such horrible violence in this country that still continues to linger on today with the shootings outside of bars. No one's safe anywhere. No one's safe anywhere. It's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. It's very sad to hear. Cliff Kingsbury says he's open to giving up play call duties. That was according to Bleacher Report. I look at it like this. I'm not going to even read the article here because there's really no point of getting into it here. How Cliff Kingsbury never gave up the play calling here in the last 2 or 3 years is beyond me. I think the play calling here was absolutely ridiculous last Sunday against Seattle right now. Your team right now is in last place right now because of your dumb play calling right now at this point. And I think realistically at this point, you should get up your play calling a long time ago. Your team would not be struggling right now if that were the case now going forward. I think this is absolutely atrocious that you are waiting this long to give up the play calling in the first place. And I think realistically right now at this point that the fact of the matter is that that's already passed by. You should be fired. There's no reason why you still should have a job today in the NFL, period. I mean, at this point, go back to college. If you want to go coach for a college football team, go coach for, honestly, if you want my honest opinion, go coach for the URI Rams. You'll be more equipped there than going coaching for a Big 12 because you certainly ain't ready to coach an SEC football team or any conference that's in the top 5, Power 5. Never mind the fact right now that you wouldn't make it there anyway. Carson Wentz is likely out 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured finger. Taylor Heineke is expected to start this week against the Green Bay Packers. So the Heineke hype is sort of back, not really. Heineke has gone cold as far as what he's done at this point. And look, for a guy who's in his 30s at this point, getting another chance, it's worth noting. It really is. Well, I already brought up the Robbie Anderson story being traded to the Cardinals for the Panthers for multiple draft picks. It's really for a 5th rounder and a 7th rounder, I believe, or a 4th rounder. I don't really exactly remember what the details were going to that one. And Marquise Brown being out for the season with possibly an injury, possibly out for the season. But this is one of the biggest stories of the day. These 2 stories right here. I'll start with the Nashville Tennessee Titans first. The National Mayor agreed on a new dome stadium that will cost up to $2.2 billion. This is great, and I'll give you it for 2 reasons right now. Because Tennessee at this point, their design in the field itself and the atmosphere, the taste of it, you almost think of Gillette Stadium because it's almost small and unique. You know, there's not a lot of hype there. There's not really a loud crowd atmosphere there. The crowd atmosphere is almost like the New England fan base, really. Although media-wise, it might be different than Tennessee is. It's not really a strong media vibe as New England's fans would be in this case. But you think of a dome stadium, and I think Tennessee Titans would thrive in that. I think that crowd atmosphere will get even louder in the dome. I think the crowd atmosphere would feel more happy in a dome. It sets up a good concert venue here at this point. Taylor Swift wants to go to Tennessee or whatever, or Blake Shelton wants to go there, or maybe John Legend or Camila Cabello or Gwen Stefani if he wants to do a duet with her husband here. It makes sense here. I think this is going to bring in good business right now. It makes sense for Tennessee anyway, considering they're not really much of a cold team anyway. They don't like cold weather, and I think the dome would help them. I think they're going to be better than the Colts everywhere in a dome, honestly. So, I don't know if it's going to benefit Ryan Tannehill in the future, but maybe Malik Willis, who knows? For Malik Willis, it makes sense here in the long haul now going forward. Let's take a look here. I don't think and I should probably bring up the Vrabel story. So here's Mike Vrabel this week. This is going to ESPN.com. Blasts the refereeing for consistent officiating. Look at this article story. I'm going to pop this article up right now as soon as my laptop loads it up right now, which I will pull the article for you quickly here as possible. But here it is. Here is the article right now going forward. This is what was said here. Quote, and this is according to Adam Schefter, after a tumultuous week for the NFL and its officials, the league emailed officiating video to all coaches and general managers, as it does on a weekly basis. But this time, one head coach was frustrated enough to reply to all. So basically, he replied to all in the email. This is what the email had said at this point. I appreciate the time and energy that goes into these videos, but I suggest we devote every minute of our officiating department's time ensuring our officiating crews are as well trained in the clarifications we worked to create in the offseason, and that each crew is as consistent as possible. Thank you. He did this on purpose and replied to all here because this wasn't just for the officials. It wasn't just for the NFL owners. It was mainly to Roger Goodell because Roger Goodell basically runs the officials. That's it. You don't run the owners. He runs the officials. The officiating has been absolutely a problem. I would say dating back since the NFL officiating strike when they had those replacement referees. You talk about them getting worse and worse every time, every season. It just seems like when they get what they want, they get punished for it. And I think it's absolutely atrocious that these referees, before I finish my thought here, let me just put the lighting on in here to make the room better. There we go. Now I'm back in my seat right now at this point. I had to get up and put the light on in here because I didn't realize how dark it was as I was reading the article. But here's my theory on the NFL officiating here. As bad as they are, and they are terrible, I think they've gotten worse every year since that NFL officiating strike happened when they had those placement referees there. They don't know what a personal foul roughing the passer is. They don't know what this is. They don't know what that is. And I think realistically, it's all based on what Roger Goodell wants to win in games. And I think Goodell bets on these games as well. I think he bets on the referees. Because I think he wants to be the NFL fun commissioner where he's not the most hated NFL commissioner, even though he still is. But in reality, he doesn't care if he's hated by the fans and all the people and all the owners because he's making $500 million because of the owners. But really, in reality, when it comes to the officiating, the officials hate Roger Goodell, but Goodell wants to kiss their asses and bet with them. I bet this is all about betting. The referees sometimes in these games, and I got to question them a lot, the penalties are ridiculous. The yards are ridiculous. I think there should be a ton of changes when it comes to the end of officiating. First of all, a pass interference penalty should not be for 30 yards down the field. I think it's unfair to the defense. I think it's unfair. To justify because it gives the offense more of an advantage at this point. I think it's ridiculous that they make that like the spot of the foul. If it's like a 40-yard penalty, I think it's a joke. Make that 15 yards. There's how you fix that issue. I think and I think that should be an NFL disgusted thing during the offseason. But I don't know what these officials even talk about. They talk about how much they earned and the games they played in and what was more viewed. Is that based on their pay? Why is that the focus at this point during the NFL offseason anyway from games that have already been passed? Because I have a feeling that's what these meetings are mostly about. Because they never change anything when it comes to their officiating. They don't. It's the same bad calls every single week. I don't know if they're just breaking records at this point with this, and they're hoping for these penalties to break records here or whatever. But I would say about 85%, 88% of the time, the NFL officiating is so freaking bad, so freaking poor. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic. So to me, I think they should fix this. But I'm crossing my fingers, but I don't think anything's going to change of it. Really, I really don't think it's going to change. Let's see. I think I had another story in here now going forward, other than the. Oh, here you go. Jack Easterby, Houston Texans executive, is out with the Texans. Here's my theory. Easterby being out right now is really an excuse for him to go back with Jonathan Kraft and the Patriots. Because I think Robert Kraft might be on his way out as well. Because Kraft had his wedding at this point. Maybe he's going to retire with a wife, maybe put the Patriots up for sale. And I think that Jonathan Kraft, takes ownership away from his father, of course, in the end. But I think Easterby comes back and learns from Bill Belichick, because there was a story that came out of this. I don't know. I can't find the audio for it. But apparently Easterby followed Bill Belichick around. And this is according to Easterby, because I think Easterby's way off base here. But then again, I think Robert Kraft's going to deny this, that he ever told this, because it could be a way to find the next Bill Belichick or by cloning him, I guess. Easterby claimed this whole thing, which I think the whole thing is outrageously stupid. But Jack Easterby being out with the Texans, look, the guy was a nobody there. He was never going to work out in Houston anyway. The fact that it happened this quickly kind of surprised me. It came out of nowhere. It was all of a sudden that it happened at that moment in time. It really did come out of nowhere. I really did not expect this to happen. I thought it was very strange that he got out with the Texans after a bye week, really, where they really didn't even do anything in the game. And I just think realistically, it's kind of weird. Anyway, so here's the story. We got some more NFL stories quickly right now that we'll just end the show pretty soon. We'll get in the NBA talk as well. More NFL's news. Former Tennessee tight end Delaney Walker announced his official retirement as of this morning. He announced that he's retiring from the NFL. This is what he said, quote, "Playing this game, I did it for so long. I am so thankful." This is via the team here. "I would say it worked out better than I could have imagined," post quote. Delaney Walker, believe it or not, played out for the 49ers back in 2006. He was out of University of Central Missouri. Then the Titans signed Walker to a 4-year, $17.5 million contract in 2013. Walker, I don't believe, has actually played for the NFL since 2020. I don't remember him playing at all in 2020, even at that point. So I don't know. To me, it's interesting. That's all I got to say. It's very interesting. Deshaun Jackson just got signed with the Baltimore Ravens. This is just as of this moment after I just announced Delaney Walker announced his retirement. But veteran wide receiver is joining the Baltimore for the duration of the 2022 season. This is according to Adam Schefter on his Twitter. Anyway, we got more news. Owners to OK Kroenke payment to the NFL. This is actually owners to OK Stan Kroenke $571 million repayment to the NFL. NFL team owners are expected to approve a resolution that Tuesday that will have Rams owner Stan Kroenke reimbursing the league for the remaining of the $571 million paid to St. Louis over the team's relocation to Los Angeles. The NFL had already paid at that point $700 million to St. Louis, but how the payment was divided up between Kroenke and the league has been contentious issue for months. So good for Kroenke at this point. He's basically paying off St. Louis at this point. St. Louis is shutting their mouths about it. So there you go. Lawyer for Snyder worried that Dan Snyder got clients' names via NFL's probe. In a letter to the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell on Tuesday, an attorney for 4 former Washington Commander employees raised serious concern that the NFL violated a very specific promise of confidentiality that was made to her clients before they testified in investigations about Dan Snyder and the team's toxic workplace culture. Lisa Banks, the Washington, D.C. lawyer, cited at an ESPN report last week that the Commanders' lawyers used NFL investigator Beth Wilkinson inquiry as a tip sheet to compile an enemies list that was used by Snyder's law firm to commission private investigations and harass her clients, including former team cheerleaders and other former employees. I said this before and I'll say it again. Dan Snyder needs to go. The guy at this point right now violated privacy. There was no confidentiality when this whole thing came out. And those lawyers, I think, in the law firm should be in trouble right now for allowing Dan Snyder to put him through this anyway. They're just as responsible as Dan Snyder should be. I'm not going to go another Dan Snyder rant about this because I don't have that much time. But it's kind of pathetic of what they're doing. It really is. That law firm and Dan Snyder as well is really pathetic as well. That whole shebang is just very sad, very, very off-putting for an owner to act the way he's acting. It really is disappointing. We have NBA tip-off tonight. The first NBA opener for the regular season starts tonight. I'll give you the list of games that are on for Wednesday. Tonight it's the 76ers and Celtics at 7:30, and Lakers and Warriors are on at 10 in San Francisco. For the Wednesday edition, Magic Pistons, Cavaliers Raptors, Thunder Timberwolves, Hornets Spurs, Mavericks Suns, Wizards Pacers, Rockets Hawks, Pelicans Nets, Bulls Heat, Knicks Grizzlies, Nuggets Jazz, and Trailblazers are at the Kings. So tonight's the night. Tonight's the night right now. The first official coached game featuring Joe Mazzulla, Rhode Island native out of Johnson, Rhode Island, coaching as the interim head coach for the first time this season as a head coach for the Boston Celtics, due to the fact that Ime Udoka is suspended for the rest of the year and probably going to be fired from the NBA after the season's over and done with. But yeah, Celtics are going to be going forward with Mazzulla. And it's interesting enough here that makes this whole thing interesting that the 76ers tonight, Celtics will be playing tonight. Boston is 3-point favorites. The Celtics, I think, will get a W here tonight. I don't see how they don't. It's a home opener right now. I think it would have been more interesting to see if they would have played in Philadelphia at this point, what the fan base would have been like in Philadelphia. But, we'll see. It's very interesting. I like hearing a story like that. Got LeBron James tonight versus Steph Curry tonight. Lakers Warriors. Very telling right now at this point. The LeBron's 20th NBA season. Dennis Schroeder has been ruled out as of today. Thomas Bryant ruled out. Russell Westbrook day today. LeBron day today. And Anthony Davis day today. But, in reality, Russell Westbrook will get the start tonight. I think Russell Westbrook, might even get in the starting rotation. People want to say it's going to be Patrick Beverley here in the starting rotation. He's not a starting point guard. He's a good bench point guard that plays great defense. But to play over Russell Westbrook, I think is kind of strange, especially when you got a guy who's getting paid over $50 million to play for this team. It is kind of strange. But, LeBron right now and the Lakers not favored heavily tonight. In fact, there's only a 33% chance they'll probably win this game. So go figure. And that's that. What I will do for all the basketball games this week and all the hockey games this week is I will post this stuff on my Instagram. I will post the scores itself and all the scores that will go on for the week of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of those games. The Thursday edition, you have a doubleheader with the Clippers. You have Bucks, Sixers, and Clippers, Lakers in, of course, Los Angeles. The Lakers will be considered the home team going into that game, though. For Friday's edition, with the scores, man. For Friday's edition, we'll have an ESPN doubleheader. It will be, excuse me, or actually, I think it's not an ESPN doubleheader, right? Oh no, it is. I get Celtics Heat 7:30 on the 21st, Friday on ESPN, and you also have the Nuggets at the Warriors at 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN as well. So very interesting games going on in the week. I'm not going to give you the list of games that are going to be going on Saturday, but what I will do is I will post all the stuff via Instagram and Facebook because they're linked together in my story. And I will post all the scores for that week. I will recap. I'll recap all the games later on that week. Not recap all the games, but what I meant to say is I will basically be giving you all the scores for that game, and I'll give the scores and highlights for the games that will go on for Saturday and Saturday itself as it's happening, and I'll recap the Sunday and Monday games possibly this week with the NFL stuff itself. Thanks to Hunter out there. Shout out to Hunter, my best buddy over here. He's putting down, oh my God, it's the real Joe Olivo. I am such a huge fan. He doesn't really watch my podcast that much, or maybe he does. I don't know. It's the first time I've heard from this kid in a while. Anyway, I am signing off. That's it for the podcast. Mike will be here on Saturday. Hopefully, Mike. I'm considering Mike month by month here at this point with this show with him. So it's tough. It's not easy making a schedule like this, but it is what it is. I am going to sign off now. That is the end of the podcast. I will be back here on Saturday. You can follow me on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Bleacher Report, TikTok, you name it. I will be there. I will be answering all your fan feedback if you want to give me some feedback. If you want to email me, my email is joealivobostonsports@gmail.com. Snapchat, it's jalivosports123. I think it's jalivo of Love Sports on Bleacher Report. It's Joe Olivo on Facebook. It's Joe Olivo Boston Sports on Instagram. And it's just my full name, Joseph Olivo, on Facebook. So that's that. I will recap. I will do my predictions for the NFL games for this upcoming Sunday on Saturday. I already gave you my pick for Thursday, which is Saints Cardinals. It's DeAndre Hopkins' return. I did pick the Saints to win that game. I'm sticking with that pick. I'm not changing my pick otherwise. Yes, it is Andy Dalton versus Kyler Murray, but it may change. It may be Taysom Hill in this game. There probably won't be any Dalton in this game, but you just never know. But I still think the Saints are going to win because of their defense. I don't think Kyler Murray is ready for that Saints defense. I don't. And I think it's too much for DeAndre Hopkins to pick up most of the slack here against that Saints secondary. So I just think it'll be very telling here on how this game could play out. And plus, it's primetime football. I don't trust Kyler Murray in a game like that. I don't. So that's that. So I'm signing off. I will see you all on Saturday. Stay tuned for all the stuff, scores and highlights and stuff I will post for basketball games that are on this week and hockey games that are on this week. So, stay tuned. All right. I'm heading out. Bye.